Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus, and I'm so glad that I can take this moment to make this post for you. You know you've been on my mind a lot lately, as always, and I'm constantly receiving information relative to the superior government, the information that I can share with you. And so today I got a lot of thoughts, and I made notations of them. And my little daughter, she was she's in a high school, and she's in a speech group, and they were doing some uh, performances at a high school. So we went over there today. They was absolutely fantastic, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that maybe later on I'll get a chance to post it, and you get a chance to see how wonderful it is. But anyway, having gone through the day, I decided tonight that I would go by a club. Got a little club here in St. Paul, and then get karaoke going some nights. So Friday night was a good night, and I'd come in, get myself all fixed up, and by 11:30, guys know me, so I go in and they'll let me come up and do a little thing. So I called myself getting a little decent. Tonight I was going to try to, you know, saying something that was special. And I was sitting there in the booth waiting, and finally they called me, and I went up and I did a song called "Will It Go Round in Circles" by Billy Preston. I had a pretty good time with it too. And as I went back to my seat, I was sitting there contemplating some of the notes that I have to share with you tonight. And I had this tie on. You see this tie? It's probably looking very shiny. And I've seen some ties on television that look shiny like this, and I've never really given it too much thought. I never thought I had a tie that would shine like this, but as I looked at it, I've seen it on TV before or on video, and I see it shine like this. And I was sitting there fidgeting with it, fidgeting. And I turned it over, and there's this little pretty little thing, and it kind of looked like it's gold. I know it's gold painted. And I had some inscriptions. I couldn't see it. I put my cool glasses off and put on my specs, and I looked down at it, and you know what it said, ladies and gentlemen? You would not believe it. It brought laughter, because I sure didn't believe it. It is a Donald Trump tie. Now, I don't really shop, do I? Because if I had said there's no word about a Donald Trump tie. But anyway, I got good reasons for not doing that. But it was so shocking to me until I decided that the things that I wanted to talk about were now a little bit more livelier, and I could come to you with a higher spirit. And so here I am, ladies and gentlemen. I just thought I'd share that with you. And no, I didn't take any drinks at this club, not because of anything except my body tells me, boy, don't you do that, because it got a whooping for me if I do. But without doubt, had that not been the problem, I'd have got me a beer or a drink. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, one of the things that people put a lot of time talking about in our country today is gun violence. We're constantly trying to put some regulations that we hope would support our defense against the gun violence. And we have our senators and everybody working, trying to get this done, and yet we have people who just don't want to get rid of the Second Amendment. They say the problem is not with the gun, it's with the person that's pulling the trigger. And so there's something to be said about both these situations, ladies and gentlemen, and they might be talking about it in Congress, but I think you and I, if it means anything, we should talk about it. We should talk about it amongst ourselves, and we still just be expressing thoughts. We're still going to be just as different as we are before we start. The thing is that we're looking basically for the power base. We're looking for that conversation that is strong enough to steal the show. The conversation that is what we call the superior conversation. Now, one of the arguments is that about the Second Amendment. We got the Constitution supporting the right to use guns, and if you go back and do some research on where this thing started from, to make a long story short, we don't really have to go back there. It's about having some protection from anybody that wants to come banging into your door, into your home, and threaten you and your family or anyone. You want to have it there, and if it gets so dangerous, we might have to go back to the way it was in the West. Take a gun with you, shoot it out in the streets. Now we think that things are so bad that we need our guns to deal with the badness of the day. And we got those who feel that guns are dangerous and people, just anybody shouldn't have them, because people go out killing folks just indiscriminately just because they got a gun. And so we should, and you got these both who, different perspectives, and yet to them they justify their positions. We need guns, we need to regulate guns. But a superior government would say, well, what are guns about? And you'll agree it's about, somebody say might prevent things from happening, but the truth of the matter is it's about inflicting pain. It's about causing pain. It's about establishing fear that would allow certain things to occur because of the threat of death that comes from these guns. So basically what we're saying is that people who are engaged in these various situations of life find it necessary to have a gun. And if they find these things necessary, then there's not going to be any regulations that's going to prevent it. And the truth of the matter is, most people don't even want it prevented. So what would be the solution to that? People must be satisfied. That threat must be eliminated. That harm threat that even those who have the gun have. That fear that they're going to lose out. Even that fear that someone really might be aggressive toward them. All of this must be eliminated. And how do you do that, ladies and gentlemen? Well, that superior government says you do the right thing. Now, if people are so dissatisfied, then it seems to reason that everybody's solution should be to deal with the problem. What is it going to take to satisfy you? Now, you got to ask these questions, ladies and gentlemen. You cannot assume that you know. You can't let your experts come and tell you. You got to know from the person that's doing it. What is the problem? Why is the problem? Let's fix the problem. So you're going to find out, to make a long story short, ladies and gentlemen, that these problems have existed ever since this nation has been established. Now, it doesn't take a genius to understand that the main focus on this maintenance problem is the system. We are living in a system that systematically, over and over and over and over again, regenerates the process that's been in play all along. It doesn't do anything. Nothing. And so the focus must be in changing the system. Now, there's only one system that I speak of, that I know of, that works. And so I'll get to that in a minute. But I just wanted to share that with you because some of the things that people talk about is the forms of government, the systems that you use. You might talk about Russia's system, dictatorships. You might talk about communism and socialism, as we do. Very seldom we talk about democracy unless we're saying, praising things about democracy. And we say that democracy is so fantastic because it represents the majority of the people. And by doing that, on a legalistic perspective, you're doing a good thing. When you talk about morals, that might give a different point of view. And when you just start talking about dealing with the issue of satisfying the situations of life, you can't do something like that and leave it like that and expect a problem to be resolved. No, what it's basically saying, ladies and gentlemen, is this. If a master, whether he want to say he's over 1 or 1,000 or a nation, if what he does to his servants causes them pain and suffering that they themselves do not want, and they can't do anything about it because they are servants to a master that says that this is okay, Now, we would say that would be abuse. There's no doubt you would say that would be abuse. And at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, if we believe that, if we absolutely believe that, then we must also go along with the line that if the nation, all you say the numbers, if the nation, 350 million or 300 million of us, or 349 million, 99, all agreed to an activity that's going to cause one, pain and suffering, then that's no different than that suffering that came to all those people from that one dictator, that one oppressor. It's the same identical thing. So just because you got numbers don't make it right. If it's working against somebody, according to the superior government, it is no good. It's a cancerous thing. Now that comes from the superior government. I know you're going to probably want to know what the superior government is in a minute. But I'm kind of giving you some insight. There's another thing that I'd like to share with you to kind of help you understand where I'm coming from. You know this thing called affirmative action. Well, you know blacks have been persecuted in this country and all over the world for so long, for always. Well, I don't know about always, but as long as we can go back to. Or, yeah, well, let's just leave it there. Blacks have been messed over. And in our country, based upon the exposing of certain activities in contrast to certain legal laws or regulations, well, it was determined and recognized that this had been an offensive occurrence to represent part of the society. And so they wanted to kind of rectify it a little bit, and they came up with affirmative action. Well, affirmative action in a sense, now it's bigger than what I'm going to describe it, but I just want to describe it so you can easily understand it, is they cut a piece of the pie. They cut a piece of the pie that everybody else had, and they took it over here and they gave it to a certain part of the black population. So you're getting some progress in the black population. But now you got a hole over here in the pie. And so that hole has got to be filled. And what that gap is being filled. But what is it being filled by? It is being filled by white people. That which was affirmative action, a just real natural way for them, now it's gone. Affirmative action came and stole it from them and gave it to somebody else. And they no longer had it. So what they're going through right now is the same thing that black people were going through when they needed it. Now, what good is affirmative action? It's keeping the people divided. It's turning people against each other. So it's an accepted thing here in certain parts of the world. I read somewhere it happened in South Africa when they started getting rid of apartheid. Shanty towns and trying to do some affirmative action there. Shanty towns were kind of changing around. Black people kind of, I guess now, I just read this or heard, I don't know how true it is. Just coming up just a teeny weeny bit. Just a teeny weeny bit. But they're coming up a teeny weeny bit, left a gap that was filled by white people. So you look at shanty towns and what do you see? White people. And they are pissed. Now you got this African people trying to go for freedom, and at the same time the pursuit of freedom is turning your enemies, turning your other parts of the population into enemies towards your freedom. Well, that's the ways of the world, of the systems of the government, ladies and gentlemen, of human thinking. And so this is why when I speak to you, I want you to hear of a superior government, because it explains to you what's going on and how to fix it. So you got to get a little bit of understanding about that affirmative action stuff. What it's basically saying, all of that represents the system. And when I'm talking about a system change. All right, here we go. You know, we always try to make ourselves, when we talk about our systems, the government, our nation, our church, our families, we always want to make it be something that we want it to be received. We want it to be special. Nice. Yeah. We want it to be really nice. Now, let me share something with you about that, ladies and gentlemen. There's nothing wrong with that. But, in spite of that, we always want to do something better. We want something better. We want something better. We're basically not satisfied. Well, at least from a perspective of those who've been enslaved and had a whole bunch of toys denied. Yeah. So you always want something better. And for a particular purpose, I don't know why this came to me this way, as an explanation of a point, but I'll share it with you as it came to me. It says, there's a couple. You know what a couple is, right? Two parties, two people. Yeah, I'm talking about people, two people. And they consider themselves a couple because they got an agreement going on between them. And what they say to one another describes what the relation in the relationship is all about. And they're satisfied with it. They both have been successful in what they're doing in life, and now they've met each other. But one steps out and cheats. Can you imagine? Now there's a cheater. On the other hand, this one is disgusted at discovering that the other one has been cheating as well. Now, they each are cheating, but they are hoping that the other one is not cheating. You know, to hear this stuff like, I thought you were better than that. I sure thought you were different. Well, people are looking for something better than they are. They are looking for something better than they are. Now, they are looking for it someplace else because they are not going to change. They are not going to try to be better. They're going to be consistently going through those same old things they've been going through all the time. It's something about it. I guess it has to do with what we call a human way. That's the way humans do things. It's like everybody wants an advantage. You know, you talk about justice, but everyone wants an advantage. Let me give you an example of that before I take it a little further. You remember when you were in high school and college, and even as you have been out going to pro games or semi-pro games, and you choose the teams that mean something special to you, especially in high school and college. It doesn't matter who the team is. You can have two best teams, and you're coming together for this Thanksgiving Bowl game. And all of the fans for each team are excited when they come in the stadium, and they know that the other teams, their special players, those guys that are superstars, either team got the superstars, and the fans on each side know who they are, and they feel intimidated by that. What's the first thing you guys think, or any of us think about it when we're in a game like that, and we're looking at the superstars on the other side? The first thing we say is mess them up. I mean, do it to them. And sometimes we might mean break the leg, break their arm, whatever it is that they're good at, make sure they cannot do it. So we, rather than having just a real fair game, because we want that advantage. Now, the only time you want a fair game is when the advantage is working for somebody else. As long as that advantage is working for you, you are all right. Then that's where you got sometimes these regulations come in. But what I'm basically saying, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about this advantage a little bit more, if you don't mind. And when I talk about it, I want to talk about power in this advantage. I want to talk about people, Americans, who are more like Donald Trump than they would imagine. When we talk about power, and we need to see what power is. A lot of you don't know what power is. You think you do. And you might, many of you do. But let me just see if I can bring you to a point where we would all agree. Power is Donald Trump, known as evil can be evil. And he brags about it. And to him, it's the greatest state to be. He walks into the government of the United States, become its ultimate leader, president. He begins to prove that he is above the law by breaking the law. He destroys established institutions, ignoring the Constitution and Congress, and gets away with it. Am I lying? Now, that's power. Power is Mitch McConnell telling Barack Obama, President Barack Obama, the Senate will not support any of his major programs he's coming up thinking he's going to change unless it's something that they want done. That's power. Power is denying the president a chance for his Supreme Court Justice nominee. He did it, didn't he? Power is stacking the courts to support policies of the power's objective. Power is law that promotes the creation of haves and have-nots, crime and violence, terror. Excuse me. What's that? What? Excuse me, there. I heard the dog bark. It kind of got me a little shaky there. Thought maybe somebody was breaking in. Yes, my friends. Well, we're talking about that power. See, power is able to do all those kinds of things. And the people say, well, we are not like that. That's what you want us basically to think. That's Donald Trump. And those who support Donald Trump, that's what you want us to think. But what, my friends, the superior government wants you to know is this: that there is a situation for the superior government to be in operation. It's going to require that all of the citizens, all of the people, they're going to want their needs met. The things that they want. They're going to want their desires met. Every last one of them. 350 million or 8 billion. And they're all here. And the power that got them here is not like Republicans or Democrats and dictators and whites. And that power, my friends, the real power of that superior government, prepared for every individual on the face of the earth. Nobody is to be without anything. Nobody. And you're going to be amazed at the number and the kind of things that you're going to be getting engaged to, because you got an imagination that's connected to the power that you can't see. Then it's going to come up there in your mind. And out of your mind, you're going to use your hands and everything else that's required to access it. That's the power. That invisible power. And see, my friends, what it's basically saying, that you are going to live in peace. You're going to be prosperous. You're going to be free. You're going to have joy in your life. And your dreams are going to be met. And you are going to play a 100% part in it by engaging yourself in the career that gives you your greatest joy. And as this plan that's already been designed is put into play, then that means that everybody that should be working, that should be in a career, whether if you're in school, if you're too old because you're engaged in other things, you know what I mean? But for the purpose of what I'm speaking to you about, it requires that everybody that benefits from these things play a part in the creation and manifestation of these things. And when you play your part, there's nobody else that's playing any part that's more important than the part that you are playing. It is designed that way by the Creator. And if the Creator designed it that way, then what man can tell you something different? You have no master but one, and that's God. I'll say that again. You got no master but one, and that's God. Now let me say that again. You got no master but one, and that's God. Not me, not the organization, not the government, not the church. You got one master, and that's God. But now, if the organization, if the system or the state, if the church is aligned with God, then you are one together. But if it is not, you stand out. You're not one of it. Now, that's power. And you put that power together because that is the power from the divine. And as you have done this, you will never be without food, clothing, and shelter, and education and health care. And on top of this, ladies and gentlemen, these things here are just common amongst us as people. But there are other things that's specific to each of us individually. And as we exercise our gifts, doing the mighty things that we have been given to do, using our imaginations and working it out, then that's where all those other things happen. This, my friends, allows all that peace and stuff that we're talking about. Nobody is creating affirmative action. Nobody's trying to be top notch. Nobody's hoping you get hurt so they can take advantage of you. No, my friends. They don't want you to get hurt because they love you. They need you. You need one another. My. And you don't need loans and debts. You don't need taxes and fees. And you don't need a bank. You don't need money. You don't need any of that stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Now, that is the superior government. I wanted to take a little bit of time and kind of share some of that with you. I don't know if you got anything out of it, but I hope that when you talk about gun violence and control, you start not talking about getting rid of guns. That has nothing. I mean, the way to get rid of guns is to be fair, not looking for an advantage, but guaranteeing. You know, like, let me say this and then I'm gone. I was telling you about that power structure, how it works. Even in the Supreme Court, if you were going to be fair, not looking for an advantage, where you got 9 justices, anytime there was a balance missing, except beyond one, it is the duty of just a fair effort to ascertain a fulfillment by one that at least represents a balance. Now, when in your questioning, you don't know, people would just say, what you really got before you. You might have some liars standing there before you, tricking you. But when you're playing the game real, you're not being tricked. You're not being tricked at all. All these guys got to do is open their mouths, and a demon will reveal itself right away. So, ladies and gentlemen, having said that, I want you to know that when I say to you that there is another power, and I'm referring you to that power, I know based upon my experience and yours that you're going to ignore it. But the superior power, ladies and gentlemen, does not allow the coronavirus. It does not allow these things to exist. Cancer, it overcomes it. Oh, brother, I moved the bed out of my house today, princess bed. You talking about heavy? I'll be dead 50 years and that bed will look just like it is today. Why? Because it's made of the good stuff. It's not trying to, hey, and it costs too. It's not trying to take your money and tomorrow you need another bed. This stuff is real. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say I spoke to you sporadically, and I hope it didn't misguide you, but rather took you to a place you needed to go. And this is Eddie Marcus once again saying thank you and goodbye.